Hi everyone, it's me, Arielle, and it's Wednesday Warriors. And last week I talked about self-esteem. I'm going to be talking about resisting the internalization of the thin muscular ideal. I'm going to be talking a little bit about body dissatisfaction, how ideals impact us, cultural differences, cultural ideals, relearning about what beauty and health look like, challenging unrealistic cultural messages and media, and value and belief systems and the impact that all of these have. Now that's obviously a lot to cover in a very short video, so what I'm going to be doing, as I typically do, is refer you to other videos that I've done in the past. I've done a number of videos on body, learning to love your body, on the media, on the fat stigma. Lots of different videos that completely 100% relate to this topic. What I really want to focus in on today is how these ideals of being thin and beautiful impact us, because they do. They clearly impact us, and there's no way around it. And even when we rise above these things, they still impact us because it may mean that we have to fight harder to rise above them, or that we have to try that much harder to portray ourselves as smart, competent, beautiful people. And it can be quite a challenge. One of the videos that I've done in the past was about the fat stigma. And in that video, I talked about people who are deemed to be overweight being stereotyped as lazy and other derogatory words. And I say people who are deemed overweight because a lot of people who would be deemed overweight by society, or by society's standards, or by BMI, which I have a lot of problems with, they are not necessarily what I would call overweight. So I do have some problems with terminology. But in that video, I talk about the media influence, and I talk about how the media perpetuates this negative sense of self, especially for females. Relearning what health and beauty are and look like is very important. And sometimes instead of relearning, it might just be redefining. And we have to remember that we can define beauty and health for ourselves. We don't have to rely on society or other people's expectations. Now, health is going to mean certain things generally, and then we can tailor some specific things to our own ideals in our own bodies. But as far as beauty is concerned, we've probably all heard the phrase, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And I think that's very true, but beauty is so much more than a pretty face or a sexy body. And it's something that we can portray just by smiling, just by living life and being joyful and putting our best foot forward and showing our true self. Being vulnerable and being authentic are very important to beauty, in my personal opinion. And I think we have it in our heads a lot of the time that beauty means one specific thing, and that this is the definition of beauty, and all of these things on this list constitute beauty. Therefore, if you don't measure up to all of those things, you cannot be beautiful. We sort of do it like a math problem. We have to meet all of these things, and if we do, we are beautiful, and if we don't, we are not. But beauty is not black and white. Beauty is not cut and dry. Beauty is subjective, and there is something beautiful in every single person. Another cliched phrase I'm sure we've all heard is, you are your own worst critic, but I definitely believe that that is often the case, because I used to be my own worst critic, and I know so many wonderful, talented, smart, beautiful people who are their own worst critic. Sometimes you don't have to redefine beauty. You can just remind yourself of beauty. I think we focus on the bad and the negative, and we do it sometimes without realizing that we are. And sometimes we do it as a sort of self-punishment. For example, if you're told 20 things that you're good at, or 20 wonderful things, or you have 20 compliments told to you, but one bad thing is told to you, you'll focus on that one negative thing. And we all do it. If you get a report card, back when you were a kid, or you're in school now and you get grades, and you have 10 A's and then one bad grade, you're going to focus on that one bad grade, even though all the other 10 grades are A's. And it's just this natural predisposition that we have to go right to the negative and focus on that and pinpoint that and berate ourselves, because either we're holding ourselves to high expectations, and I did a video about holding ourselves to high expectations, I'll post the link to, and if it's not ourselves, it's because other people are holding us to high expectations. And holding yourself to high expectations isn't always a bad thing, but it doesn't mean that we deserve punishment and ridicule when we don't measure up to the standards we've set for ourselves. Since I've talked about challenging the media and other societal messages in the past in other videos, I will post the links to those videos in the info box. I won't rehash all of that here. I want to focus more on this lack of focus on the positive. And one of the tricks or suggestions that I've talked about in other videos, as far as being kind to yourself and reminding yourself what beauty really is, and that you are really beautiful and you do have great qualities, is to keep a log or a notebook or a list of all of the good things that someone says about you. Whether it's a passing remark that someone says to someone who knows you and you hear about it secondhand, or it's a compliment about your appearance or talents or intelligence, whatever it might be, whether it's that your haircut looks cute or you did an amazing job on a project. If you write those things down and you keep track of them, it's good for multiple reasons, and I've talked about this before, but I'll say it again. It's good because you can go back to that list, that log, when you're having a bad day or you're having a hard time, and you're focusing on the negative, and you can read all of those things and remember and say, hey, these things were all said about me, and these people meant it, and they're all true. And even though I don't feel like that right now, and I'm really disliking myself, or I'm really disappointed about this, or this person said something negative about me or to me, all of these other things are still true, and I'm still a beautiful person. The other thing it does is it causes you and forces you to recognize compliments when they're said and to accentuate the positive, because I think in a given day we might receive compliments and not even realize that they happened, or we might recognize the compliment for the 5 seconds that it's being said, thank the person, or become uncomfortable and not even thank them and try to pass off the compliment, and then move on. And at the end of the day, when we're going to sleep, we don't even have any recollection of that compliment being said. We're instead focusing on something that we dislike about ourselves, or about something that someone said or did that was negative or disappointing in regards to us. And instead of focusing on that negative stuff, focusing on the positive is something that we should be doing, and keeping a log of that stuff, I think, can really help. And it sounds very weird, but if you do it sort of in the same way that you keep a journal, even if you don't journal, and you just keep this log in a notebook in your purse or your bag or in your wallet or whatever you have with you, no one's seeing you keep a log of the compliments and nice things that people say about you. It's just for you, and it should be just for you. But I think it's important, especially for people who have trouble recognizing the positive things about themselves. I don't think it's any surprise to you out there that there are very unrealistic cultural and societal messages that we receive. I think that women are seen as sex objects quite a bit. I think that the focus is more on their appearance instead of on what they can do, or how intelligent they are, or what they can bring to the table in other ways. I also think that the messages that are out there for young girls are often very terrible. And I just gave a talk recently at this Voices of School Health conference, and it was about eating disorders and helpful support for eating disorders, specifically for children and adolescents. And in this talk, I basically said that it's impossible to eliminate all of the negative messages that are out there in the media, whether it be television, movies, internet, magazines, advertising. It's impossible to eliminate all those things. Certainly steps can be taken to eliminate the very detrimental things, and certainly things such as pro-anorexia websites should be brought to the attention of authorities and should be shut down. That said, the media is huge. And I don't say this to have a defeatist attitude, to say that we're just a few people or a few thousand people among so many billions, and the media is bigger than us, so we should just give up. I'm not saying to give up. I'm just simply saying that it is very difficult to shut down all the negative aspects of the media. It's simply not realistic, and while we shouldn't give up and we should keep working, what's really important is to combat all of the negative things that are out there with positive things. So if you have all of these very negative websites, negative messages about beauty and weight and things like that in the media, for all of the bad things out there, instead of trying to eliminate them, for all of the bad things out there, keep putting out positive good things. Keep sending positive messages. For every bad thing, throw out something really good. You're beating the bad down with the good. You are showing girls and women that there are other options, that what the media is showing is not true, without banning it. You're giving people their opinions and their say, and even if the media is sometimes spouting blatant lies, which happens a lot, we can show very positive things. We can combat all of those bad things with great stuff. So just keep churning out the positive, and the more people do that, the more that young girls and women will see that what the media is showing is not the only message and is not necessarily the right message. So I would challenge you, if you are being bombarded with negative media messages and negative media images, and if sometimes you seek them out, and if sometimes just through no fault of your own, they're just there staring you in the face, I challenge you to search for more positive things. They are out there. So for every negative thing that you can't seem to get away from, put yourself out there and try to look for something positive. Try to search for a positive site on the internet. Try to pick up a magazine that has more to do with your interest than the way you look, or tips to lose weight, or dieting. Pick up a book on cooking if that's what you enjoy, a catalog, a magazine on knitting. Something that gets away from advertising and dieting and appearance. Show yourself the good stuff that's out there, because it is out there, and hopefully with enough work and activism and people who want to portray those positive messages, the positive things will keep multiplying, and they will eventually outnumber all of the negative. There's so much more I want to say on this topic, so much more that I could say. So I'm going to direct you to lots of other YouTube videos that I've done, and I really do hope you'll check out the ones that are of interest to you. I hope you're having a wonderful week out there, and I'll see you next time.